up, everybody? Welcome back to the Comic-Con Podcast, Season 2, Episode 13. We are recording this on March the 30th, a little early because I am heading out to Anaheim, California to go check out WonderCon for the first time. I'm going to be chilling with my man TiVo from Lords of the Long Box and hitting up all those West Coast cats. So that's why we're doing it 2 days early. So hopefully this news is still relevant when you boys and girls hear it on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or even sometime next week. But of course, I got my man Manimal with me. What's going on, buddy?
Just sitting over here, jealous that you're going out to WonderCon and I can't go. I really wanted to go, was planning on going as well, but some work stuff came up and just wasn't able to swing it. But I'd gone a couple years ago and met Tim TiVo for like the first time in person and had a blast at WonderCon. So you're gonna have a lot of fun, man. All the Cali cats are real cool. So
yeah,
you guys are gonna have a good time.
He said some of the guys that normally do go aren't going, but
really?
I hit up Gabe. I hit up our buddy, Ninja Comics. Gabe loves 90s comics. He'll be there on Friday, so I should see him on Saturday. The big to do, of course, Tim, Cover Price guys, the KRS guys. I'm really excited to go check everything out, and it's going to be my first time all the way out in California, so it's going to be definitely a good show.
Who's Gabe going with?
I don't know. I really don't know.
Because he's out in Vegas. Is he going with like Torpedo or something maybe?
I don't know. He just says he's driving down Friday night. So
cool.
Kind of go from there. So, but of course, this week we are rounding out the month of March, even though this is, of course, dropping on April the 1st. But we have our guest with us for Women's Month. We have a good friend of mine, someone I've known in the community for a while. And I figure, if you've been listening to the podcast since the beginning, you've actually heard her husband here on a couple times, our buddy Juan from the Comic Book Fiend Club. But we have Jenn. How are you, Jenn?
Good. Just, a little nervous for today.
It's no reason to be nervous.
Yeah, no reason to be nervous. Again, we're doing this. We're very unprofessional at times.
Extremely unprofessional.
So, Jenn, where can people find you on social media if they want to check you out while they're listening to us here on the podcast?
So on Instagram, I'm Nerdy and Inked. I recently started actually TikTok, which is crazy. I actually do some videos there of stuff that I kind of collect on the side that isn't always comic book, centered. But yeah. Mostly I'm on Instagram.
I definitely want to get into that, Jenn, because you have your Instagram is not just one thing. Like for me, it's either comic books and cats and my wife. And that's literally the only three. That's literally the only things I post. You have just a smorgasbord of stuff that you post, which is really awesome. So I definitely want to get into all the aspects of things that you collect here and posting everywhere. And then of course you also do have a YouTube channel, right? What's the YouTube channel?
Yeah, so we recently kind of just put my channel and Juan's channel together. So it's Retro Nerdy. I think it's Retro and Nerdy. I'm probably butchering the name, but that's where we kind of just collaborated just because we figured we collect together. So we might as well just do just a video, a YouTube channel just of, what we pick up throughout our little adventures.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, what do they say? The couple that collects together stays together, right? But I don't think Justin and I know neither of our wives collect comics by any means. So hopefully that's not the hard and fast rule to successful marriages.
It can be a little, it can be a little sometimes challenging because, when you want to pick up something that you both want, but it's pricey, it's like, it can be tricky.
Well, if you both want it, it should be like a little easier. You only have to buy one and you share, right?
Yeah, that's what recently happened when we picked up the first appearance of Elektra. That was something that we both had our eyes on. Mm-hmm. So it just so happened that we found it at the King Kong show.
Awesome.
But that's good too, because especially obviously not a visual media, but you have tons of statues in the back, and I know both you collect statues, Juan collects statues, so it's like, if there's like a statue out there that's just say, $400, at least both of you can kind of split it and be like, it's our statue. It's not just my statue. Like, I don't think I could do that with like my wife. I don't know. It'd be weird. It's my stuff. Like,
hey, loan me $200 for a statue I want.
I think that's how it started, actually, because I think the first one, I want to say the first one that Juan ever got me was the Harley Quinn statue. And then it kind of just snowballed from there. Because then after that, I think we picked up Doctor Doom. And then it just started to unravel as we kept picking them up. But now they're actually in storage just because right now with the space, we're kind of limited.
So this might be a dangerous question, but how how many times does Juan actually buy you something like a gift for you that he secretly wants as well? And he's like, "Hey, look, I got this for you," but it's also kind of for him.
That actually happens a few times. We actually do that a lot with comic books, actually.
Yeah, awesome.
So, Jen, kind of, let's get a little bit of a background. Like, when did you start collecting? How did you start collecting? What was your like first introduction into the world of whether it's comic books or collecting toys, statues? Like, what was the first thing that you were like, I gotta start getting this for whatever reason?
So I think it originally started with my brothers just because they used to watch a lot of Ninja Turtles. They used to watch a lot of the Batman the animated series. So I guess like growing up with them kind of opened the door a little bit to a lot of comic books. My brother actually used to draw a lot of like comic book characters. So I think that kind of opened the door like to introduce it to me. So I think it started there, but then as I got older and I used to live in New York, so I used to go to Midtown Comics a lot. And believe it or not, the two books that I always picked up was Harley Quinn and Hawkgirl. Those were always my two books that I always picked up. But then when I actually started dating Juan, I somehow inherited a short box of comic books. So that's how that started.
So would you say Harley Quinn, is that still kind of your go-to character?
Yeah, she is.
Yeah.
She has a
So
special place in my heart.
So I know you're obviously, yeah, you're definitely big. You're heavier, I would say heavier on the DC side because of all the DC collectible statues that I can see in the back. And I could pick apart a lot of them in the background. What makes Harley Quinn and like Hawker the characters that you like the most? What is it that attracts you to those type of characters?
Um, I think for me, when I saw Harley Quinn in the animated series, I just liked her attitude, like the fact that she was kind of different. She was also, secretly smart. So, and then reading the comic books, that kind of also, attracted me more to her. And then Hawkgirl, I just love the fact that she was strong and she could fly.
Yeah, the Hawk characters also just look so cool. Both Hawkman
Yeah.
and Hawkgirl. They're just so badass looking.
So, of course, not only, and Juan's told this story that, you both met at New York Comic Con and then he proposed to you at New York Comic Con, which is an amazing story. And the first time Juan was here on the podcast, we discussed that. And, I said, it'd be great to meet a girl at a comic convention like that. It's something that I'm sure happens at many conventions, but you guys have a pretty amazing story, and that's something that we've talked about a few times, even in our normal conversations outside of the podcast, and when Juan and I talk about the comic book world. So, and also you've now been, I don't know how many years you've been in the Comic Book Fiend Club as a member, but what's that like being a woman in the Comic Book Fiend Club? Because something that we've talked about over the past month is how men have typically dominated this community. There's now a lot of women here in the comic book world. So what's that like being a woman in the Comic Book Fiend Club? Because I know there's a lot of members as well.
Yeah. So that definitely a lot more guys, but it's always great when you see other, like especially women in the comic book community, just because you would never think that you weren't the only one that enjoys collecting. And even if it's like different things aside from comic books, even if it's like figures or anime, it's just I like that we're kind of there's more of us coming out. And so if anybody ever wants to join, they don't just generally just see all the guys. It's also us women in there too. So it's definitely amazing to see how much we've grown.
How many women are in what are you're in the East chapter, is that right? The East chapter? How many
Yes.
would you say there are women in the East chapter of the Fiend Club?
I think right now in the East there's only 2.
Okay.
Don't
That's
ask
cool
me
though.
what the total is because
That's my next question. You
Well, how
ruined
about
it.
roughly? Do you roughly know, Jen, like how many are in all the chapters?
Hmm,
Maybe, or at least maybe
God.
in the US. I don't know about like the international and Canada.
Oh my God, I hope I get this right, but if I don't, I do apologize. Maybe like
Juan, how
9.
many? It's about
I
9.
should
All right.
ask him, but I'm gonna take a
Quick, quick.
guess on
Like
here.
snap your fingers. Be like, Juan, they're asking me a question I don't know.
There's a TV blocking me, so I don't even think he can see me.
Well, 9's not a bad number.
I think
Um,
I want to say 9, but again, if I did get that wrong, sorry.
That's all right. So, I mean, obviously I know you, and I know Pretty Nerdy,
Mm-hmm.
who's also with, I can't think of his name. He's also in the Comic Book Fiend Club as well, and I follow
Mm-hmm.
both of them. And they also have a channel. Pretty Nerdy has a YouTube as well, and I'm sure TikTok and everything is Instagram. So, with your many avenues of collecting, I wanted to pick apart your Instagram. So right on your tagline, you have comics, anime, horror, photography. How would you rank those? Like, what would be your top five down
Uh,
to one?
I think it would have to be probably because of everything I have going on my page right now. It probably would have to be like comic books, anime, horror. It's certain horror. Like generally, mostly, it's more like the Universal monsters, and then now I'm starting to get into collecting Godzilla. So it's a cluster of things.
It always does. It's always expansion.
Yeah.
Right. So what would you say on like your so weekly, are you buying comics weekly, or are you buying like you doing pops weekly? Like how does your weekly budget for pop culture, I guess, go?
It
What gets the
varies.
focus?
It varies. Especially when I go to shows, I just for some reason I have a budget in mind, but it never stays that way.
Justin's about ready to blow his budget at WonderCon this weekend. I guarantee
Yeah,
you. So
I pre-show Zach and I were talking, and my carry-on and book bag are already full, and I have one of those like clamshell comic book binders that I used to
Mhm.
bring to shows to like put the nice books in, but that's going to get full, and I may have to have someone either ship books back to me, or I'm going to ship them out myself before I leave on Sunday. And I just know it's going to happen because I went to Dallas and I had to have everything in my my book bag, my carry-on, everything. So WonderCon's going to be so much fun. But speaking of conventions, you and Juan and some other members of the Comic Book Fiend Club just did King Kong, and we had Greg here on the show a couple weeks ago prior to the show. How is that setting up? And just kind of being in the community, like it's something different for you, right? Because you and Juan, the Comic Book Fiend Club, have only really set up at a few shows, but
Mhm.
what's that kind of being like a normal community member being able to set up, not like a normal vendor.
Um it's crazy cuz the show that we did last year, I don't think we really expected it to be so like not packed, but it was really popular and there was we thought we were going to walk away with, keeping some stuff that we would have to, bring back to the storage but a lot of it actually did sell at the last minute and it was great cuz you also like at the last show we had someone just buy the entire everything that we had left on the table
Mhm.
and we really weren't expecting that but we were really grateful for it because it went to a good cause. So that's always the main focus is it's going to something to help others. So that's always something that we wanted to kind of do more of. But yeah, it's definitely a new experience setting up and having everything ready and making sure that everything is set up, especially since Juan wanted to take his whole streaming equipment. So
Yeah, I
that
was
was
kind of
also fun.
checking in. I was checking in as I could on YouTube because you guys were streaming all day. Had the camera set up, and either if I was trying to watch it on the live, if not, it was trying to catch it on the rewind, just seeing everybody walk by. But you guys had a good spot,
Mhm.
and I'm sure that that's always a great thing, especially at a show, and the fact that he did bring all that stuff. But what obviously this was the second show, and
Mhm.
we've talked to Greg. I went to the first one. Unfortunately, I was in Dallas this past 2 weeks ago, so I couldn't go. But for anybody who's considering going for the third one, setting up or just going, what was it like? Was it packed? Was it especially a 1 day
Um,
show?
it was actually really organized. So when we got there, they already let us know like what time the day before we have to have, the setup, and so we kind of already had an idea of what we were bringing, what some other members were bringing. So it just kind of was just a matter of setting up, but thankfully, all of that was really taken care of before we got there. So it was just a table and then just setting everything up and making it look nice and presentable.
Mhm.
But yeah, it was really well organized, I gotta say.
So what, like, when you go to the cons, what are you looking for? What's kind of like your grail right now this year, or what are you currently hunting?
Mm, that's a good question.
It's like the worst
Um,
question too, because it's always like 20 things, right? Like, oh, I think I want this, but here's 9 other things that I really would like to have as well.
mm, I want to say, well, there's a book that I didn't know I needed, but that I'm gonna pick up like pretty soon. It's the Archie comics. It's the first appearance of Godzilla on a US comic, I think.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that's one thing that I didn't even know existed because, like I said, I just kind of got into the reading the Godzilla books and trying to collect the whole run. So I think that's one of the things that I'm gonna be getting. That's completing my collection.
Yeah, see,
That's
like
cool.
that's definitely what happens is it spirals out of control when
Yeah.
you start you have your goal in mind. Like I have my goal of trying to complete Batman, which will never happen, but I work on it gradually. And then I always do some Star Wars if I see like rare Transformers variants. And now this year, because of my boy Jeff, Comic Dunes, and even like Stampede, these guys post all these video game things. And I'm like, now
Oh
I've
yeah,
been
I
down the
know.
rabbit hole of video game comics. And Jeff was here at my place yesterday picking up some comics, and I had to show off like some of my stuff, some of my comics, and it's just like, hey, check out this Mega Man #1 and Gears of War #1. It's like books that I would have never started picking up, and now it's like I've went down this rabbit hole of video game comics. And when you go to a shop, you don't really know if a video game, because I'm definitely a gamer before I was into comics, and I still am.
Hmm.
Gaming is definitely my #1 thing. I never now I have to like go A to Z and look through all the books because it's just like if I don't know a video game had a comic until I get to that section, be like, oh my god, they have this. I was like, I need this.
Right. From like some publisher that's never been heard of ever again or something like that, right?
Yeah, some random no name.
Just
Yeah.
like not video game related, but it is anime related. So about I think last year I started to look for this Sailor Moon comic that was apparently a CDC exclusive, but
Mhm.
there's two. So there's a silver one, a silver cover, and a pink cover. That for some reason that book graded goes for about $1,000,
Wow.
and I
Wow.
don't. I gave up trying to find that book. I'm like, I don't know where or why. I think it's just because it was a limited print, and then it's been really hard to find. So I gave up looking for that book.
So thanks to Michelle from Moonlit Comics talking about her hunts and putting together runs and stuff. I've been since then now like back in there. I'm not trying to put together runs or haven't for probably like 2 or 3 years now. But now I'm picking up any Ghost Rider Bronze Age I can find, like trying to put together a whole run. I'm sitting here looking at a stack of probably like 11 or 12 Bronze Age Ghost Rider books that I picked up recently. And it's fun. Like like I said, I haven't done it in a long time, but I was a collector before, and now it's kind of fun to get back into it, which I really haven't been in that collecting mode in a very long time. But it's definitely cool.
And Jen, I feel like that's something that you're more of a collector than a speculator or seller, right? Yeah, you definitely
Yeah.
collect you collect the hobby, you read your books, and obviously even toys and anime and stuff like that, right?
Yeah. Yep, I do. That's why when I went to the show, I had brought the Storefolio. I have one of Vampirella. I feel like did I say that right? Okay,
Yeah,
because
Apparel.
I'm spacing on everything today. But for some reason, I walked in where they're completely empty, and towards the end of the show, it was completely full to the
Hmm.
point that I couldn't even fit books in there. And it wasn't even stuff that I was looking to pick up. It just I just so happened to find it.
So speaking of anime, because I got to ask you, because again, that's another thing that I like about your page is that you do post all different types of anime. What was kind of your intro into animation? Was it your brothers? And also, part two of this question is, what's your favorite anime, either of all
Ooh.
time or currently?
Um, well, Juan has been kind of helping me get into some of the older anime because like a lot of the anime that I watched growing up was kind of girly. So some of it was like Inuyasha, some of it was Digimon, some of it was Pokemon, then Sailor Moon, Zoids. So it kind of varies. So Juan's kind of been introducing me to some older anime like Afro Samurai, and he's introduced me to Berserk, which I never even watched before. But that's been fun.
Hey, you got to start somewhere. Literally all those I knew, all the different titles that you just said. Like when you said Digimon, like Digimon was like something. Even though it's like that came out when I was older, but still, like I still liked it. I still watched it. Um, Inuyasha, Pokemon, of course, Zoids, like that definitely brings me back. So people that are listening to this, when you hear sometimes when you hear that, especially here on the podcast or when I listen to someone on YouTube and they drop a name of something and it just like immediately brings you back in time to that time where like I remember that show or like I
Yeah.
remember having those toys and now it's like you want to go out and get those collectibles.
Yeah, believe it or not, the Digimon figures were I had almost most maybe like 20 of them when I was growing up. But for some reason I've been collecting a lot of them recently, but it's been really hard because I like to have them in complete. Like the card needs to be nice or, at least decent looking.
Mm-hmm.
So that also has grown. And for some reason, these figures have been really expensive to get. The most expensive one I have is like over maybe like 200. So I've been going down a dark hole.
It's usually how it works, right?
Yeah.
And then once
It's
you
not
start,
comic
it's like,
books, it's figures.
oh god, I thank God I only collect comic books because I tried the statue game for a little bit. Like I purchased one statue and I was like, wow, this is really cool. And then it took a year to get, and then I got it and I was like, ah, it still looks pretty cool. And then I was like, what? It's just sitting here. Like, what can I do with this thing? I just got to look at it. That's all I got to do. I was like, this shit's got to be sold. No more. I can't do
You
this.
clean it.
Yeah, and then I get to clean it. No, that's not that life wasn't for me.
Yeah, it's almost like the same that I've been going through with my bombshell figures back
Yeah.
here. There we go. A lot of them, believe it or not, were given to me by one of the club members, Steve, the Bataholic.
Yeah.
So a lot of them were gifts, and that's how this kind of started. So, and then the first one I ever bought was at Baltimore, and that was the Batgirl Halloween bombshell statue. And then from there, again, it just it has grown.
Starts with one. I know that feeling too.
Right.
I speaking of Batgirl, my first when they did the DC Cover Girls line, the first line with well not the first line, the second line with Art Germ when he did all of them, I bought the Batgirl because I was like, "Oh, cool, I can display it with her first appearance." And then
Right.
that literally went down every one that came out or ones that came out previously. I was like, "Well, now I got to start getting into this line." And they're not bad. They're like 9 inches tall, but it's tough sometimes to hunt them down if they're either older
Mhm.
or out of print. But yeah, they take up a lot more space. So yeah, I know that feeling.
Yeah. But even like for me, the boxes, I've tried to kind of tell myself, well, if do you want to declutter, just get rid of the boxes. I can't because we move, so I'm scared. Some of them actually, some of them actually broke in the move the last time. So some of like the name plates are cracked, or like my Zatanna figure that I had also one of the fingers ended up breaking. But I just ended up gluing it together because I can't get rid of them.
So Jen, as a comic book collector, especially here in the comic book world, how have the men treated you here in this community of nothing but guys?
They've been pretty, welcoming. Even, have helped me when I've been looking for specific books. So I do have to say there is, a great deal of almost like family oriented just because, even if we want to help each other out to look for a book or, even to strike up a conversation, a lot of a lot of the men in the community have been very welcoming and, they've been just great. I do have to say.
So that kind of like ties into the question I've kind of asked all of our guests this month is, and you kind of just answer it. So, but very similar, like how is it being a woman in the comic book community? Seeing as how it is so much, it seems like it's male oriented, and like trying to fit in and everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's great, especially when I see other women collecting or like digging through bins or looking for, to start their own collection. That's really great to see because, I feel like, especially with the movies and, or maybe their partner is into comics. So it kind of opens the door for them as well. So
Mhm.
it's really great to see, just because even when you have like little girls like looking for comic books or dressing as the characters, it's always great to see.
Yeah, that is. And we've been saying it all month is, it's nice to see a change in the community and whether it's just, women or age groups or whatever, like it's always good to see the hobby and the community grow and change from men, which what's predominantly been like for, as long as Justin and I have really been alive. So it's nice to see the changes. It means not only in the collecting and the community, things will change, but like it also I feel like it also transfers over to like the stories that are being told and we get more diversity and changes in stories and different characters, which always is good. You want to keep things changing and moving, so um
Yeah.
I
And
like it.
even me, like in as a member in the Comic Fiend Club, one thing I've always said is, if anyone, whether you collect figures, comics, or even cards, or it's just, I always leave the door open to anyone who wants to have or strike up a conversation, just because that's what it's about. It's building friendships. It's building, getting to know people, and that's just how you do it. It's just kind of making conversations here and there.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. So, Jen, I know your time is valuable, and I appreciate you jumping on a little earlier today. So we're going to close out this month of Women's Month with you, Jen. Nerdy and Inked is where you can find Jen on Instagram, of course, also on her YouTube. What's the YouTube again?
Retro and nerdy.
Retro and Nerdy.
I
Awesome.
answered that like it was a question.
I had
There's a
I
question
forgot.
mark at the end of that was you're searching for it.
Well, with real quick, Jen, when I'm going to go to WonderCon, please shoot me the screenshots or pictures of those Sailor Moons, and I will look for those books while I'm out there because I'm definitely going to be going in long boxes. And maybe if it's up on the wall, I'll hit you up and say, "Hey, they got it out here." And if it's a decent price, you know, I'll grab it for
Yeah,
you. So,
I
but
appreciate it.
Jen, we
I
really
also still have
appreciate
your
you
book,
jumping on.
so
Oh, I know, Jen. Yeah, Jen.
it's
What's
in
it
my
been like?
backpack. So I'm ready for
Been
the
like a
next show.
year. It's been like a year since you've said that you owe me this book. And unfortunately, I go to Dallas, you go to King Con, and I'm like, I'm not going.
It's okay. It's gonna stay in my backpack until I go to a next convention and you're there. I
Awesome.
promise.
So, Jen, we really appreciate you jumping on here on the Comic Con podcast. So, any
Thank you for
closing words
having me.
before you bounce out of here?
Just don't, be yourself. Just that's the best thing that I can say is just don't be afraid to, you know, show your collection, whether it's like I said, anime, comics, just it's all about us being nerds and appreciating the collections that we have.
Perfect. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on. Really
Thank,
appreciate having you.
thank you for having me
Cool.
on. This was actually really a lot of fun.
All right, Jen. We'll definitely next time we'll have you and Juan on the same time. So we'll get a
I'm
big
sure he will love that.
oh my god, absolutely. So again, everyone, make sure you go follow Jen on Instagram, Nerdy and Ink, to check out her and Juan's the Retro Goon. Check out their YouTube channel. And we're gonna let Jen go. Take care, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Nice
you.
meeting you, and thank you for everything. And thank you for having me
Bye,
on.
Jen.
For sure.
Absolutely. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.
Okay, bye.
Well, shout out to Jen for being here on the podcast. We really appreciate Jen again coming on, and all of the women that we've had this month on the podcast for Women's Month. We definitely will have them on again. sooner rather than later. We are always talking to the women here in the community, so we'll definitely have some of them on. And of course, everyone that listens, we always like to hear from you. So, if you want to come on, you got a YouTube, Instagram, content creator. That's what it's all about. We want to bring people that you don't know about you. Maybe they should, because we've been learning a lot of stuff having Michelle on, Sade, and Jenn here as well. So, of course, let's get into some of the articles.
Oh
What is
man.
this about?
Oh man, we got to talk about this. So this is from comicbookresources.com, and the headline for this article is Flash star Ezra Miller reportedly threatened to kill couple gets hit with restraining order. So I feel like we have to talk about this because this isn't the first time with Ezra Miller. Like, I think it was back in 2020, there was that video of him choking that woman. Remember, in Iceland, in Reykjavik?
Yes,
Iceland
I
came
remember
out.
that. Yeah.
So even when that came out, I was like, wow, yikes. I wonder if they're going to go through with this Flash movie, because we're in that time period where, any mistake can get you canceled. So him strangling and choking a woman was a pretty big deal, but apparently they figured it all out and they decided to go through with it. And we've seen what's going to be happening with the Flash. And then now this happens. So apparently, a couple files restraining order against Ezra Miller after the actor allegedly threatened to kill them and stole their belongings. So I guess the backstory is so random, dude. I guess Ezra Miller is living with this couple in Hawaii. I'm assuming, filming for some movie or whatever. Not really sure why he's staying with these people or whatever, but allegedly, according to court documents, Miller burst into the couple's bedroom and is quoted saying, "I will bury you and your slut wife." The order also states Ezra Miller is famous and wealthy. This makes access to weapons much easier, as well as sending associates to harass the couple. So, along with a wallet, the actor reportedly took social security card, passport, driver's license, and bank cards. At the time of this writing, these items have not yet been returned to the couple. So I guess that's not the only thing. Apparently, there was a police report also stating that Miller yelled obscenities at bar patrons who were singing karaoke. They then grabbed the microphone from a 23-year-old woman singing karaoke and later lunged at a 32-year-old man playing darts. The report added the bar owners attempted to calm Miller several times, but was unable to. The Justice League star's bail was set at $500, which the couple reportedly paid. So let's unpack this. So apparently, in 2020, he choked a woman, and then at some bar in Hawaii, he lunged at someone with karaoke, or grabbed the karaoke microphone from someone, lunged at a man playing darts. Bad enough that the cops came and he was arrested, and then a couple bailed him out for $500, who he then went on to rob them and tell them that he would bury them and bury the man and his slut wife. This guy seems deranged. Okay. I don't know about this, dude. Like, at this point, I don't know how anyone supports. And I'm not even I'm not a big I'm not a cancel culture person at all. But if we're canceling people and Ezra Miller's still staying around, like, what the fuck, dude? Like, this don't make any sense to me. So,
because he's also in the Fantastic Beasts
right,
movie as well,
bro. Which, let's keep in mind, they took Johnny Depp out of because of the issues with his wife. So the domestic charges that, I think, don't quote me on this because I don't follow this because I don't care enough, but Johnny Depp got cleared from that stuff with Amber Heard, I think, and they still took him out of Fantastic Beasts and replaced his character, with a different actor. So
I think it was Ezra Miller. No.
yeah, right. No, it was
I don't know. I didn't
God.
even watch. I don't watch those. I've never seen any of the Fantastic Beasts because I just don't like. And we've talked about this. I just don't like Harry Potter.
Ooh, we just lost tons of listeners.
Sorry, bro. I'm sorry. It's just as much as the Hogwarts Legacy video game looks amazing, and I probably will play it, but I don't know.
I don't. You know what? Like, with this, I don't care. To be honest, I don't really care if they cancel him or not. If they don't, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, here it is.
I don't really
He'll
like
just be
Ezra Miller.
He'll be in the Flash movie, and then they'll have like an end credit scene where he flashes into the Speed Force, and then another Flash comes out, and they're just gonna have to rewrite. It won't be Barry Allen anymore. They'll immediately cast a Wally West.
Exactly. I mean, Flash is set up perfectly where, oh, dang it, Barry's gone. He's stuck in the Speed Force. Now we got Wally West. So I didn't like, honestly, in all of the Justice League, whether the original or the Snyder cut, he was my least favorite. And he's probably, the Flash character is my favorite out of the Justice League members. So anyway, interesting story. And
And I guess, but here's also a thing. Speaking of, obviously Ezra Miller and Justice League and Zack Snyder at the Oscars, they won the most cheer-worthy moment at the Oscars, which was like a fan theme Oscar for when Barry enters into the Speed Force and like
Oh, really?
reverses time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
mean,
that won an Oscar. It was kind of like behind the scenes, but it actually beat out
awkward.
Spider-Man and Avengers. So most
Interesting.
interesting enough that we're talking about Ezra Miller.
That's cool.
So sticking with movies, and this is obviously something that we didn't get to last week, and I feel like it was kind of, maybe it might have been in between, but we've had the Batman. Matt Reeves has been out for a few weeks, but recently last week there was a teaser of a 2-minute clip that showed up online, and then all of a sudden a 5-minute clip showed up online with Batman meeting the Joker in Arkham. So we definitely want to talk about this a little bit, and I kind of want to do my take because there's a lot of people that are complaining about this, the good and the bad. But so over at inverse.com, you have the Batman director reveals his Joker's ridiculously new origin story. So of course, like I said, it's about a 5-minute clip. If you haven't seen it yet because you haven't seen the movie, obviously don't watch the clip, but go check it out if you can. I highly recommend it. So, in a recent interview with Matt Reeves, he kind of offers up his origins of the story of the Joker. So, Matt Reeves explained that he has a congenital disease where he can't stop smiling, and it's horrific. Expanding further on Barry Coogan, who, of course, was in Eternals, his version of the Gotham's clown, Prince of Crime. Reeves added, "It's not about some version where he falls into a vat of chemicals and his face is distorted, or what Nolan did, where it's some mystery of how he got the scars on his face. Instead, Reeves revealed that he's forced to live this crazy life where he always is smiling his entire life. And in response to the reactions he's received, he's actually formed a kind of cynical perception that within the Batman arch nemesis. And he quotes, "Even as a child, people looked at him with horror," Reeves said. And his response was to say, "Okay, so a joke was played on me, and that was the nihilistic take on the world." So I've watched the clip. I watched the 2-minute clip. I watched the 5-minute clip. I've watched it a few times. There's a lot of YouTubers out there that I watch or just randomly search and stuff like that, and everyone's like hating on this, saying that it's not original, and you you go ahead and you try to do better than the Joker or Heath Ledger's Joker, and I don't even think it's being better than Heath Ledger's Joker. I think this is a completely different take on it, and you also have to realize that this is so early that I remember even Matt Reeves said prior to this that the Joker isn't the Joker yet. Like none of these characters are like Colin Farrell's
Right.
Cobblepot is not the Penguin yet. And Selena's not Catwoman yet. So he's like a clown. I think it looks amazing. I think this character, whether we get the Joker in the next movie or I'm hoping we don't, we talked about this on the spoilers, that I think he will come, but I think he's just awesome. And a lot of people are already complaining, well, you got to compare him to Heath Ledger's Joker. You have to compare him to Joaquin Phoenix's Joker. I think this is like a different take altogether, and I'm excited to see what they go. And I think any character, this just goes to show that Matt Reeves can probably drop any villain into these movies, and it's going to be amazing. Zach, what do you think?
Yeah, I saw the clip. I thought it was cool. I wasn't blown away by it. I think and maybe this is just my mentality, across the board with the Batman in general. And I don't want I don't want this to come across like negative because I have explained this to people and I feel like all anyone's hearing, there is kind of a little toxic fan base right now. I feel like for the Batman, it's like, if you don't think it's the greatest Batman movie ever, you don't know what you're talking about. And it's like, chill the fuck out here. Okay. I liked the Batman. I thought it was good. I don't think it's the best, but I also preface this by saying I didn't feel the same way about Batman Begins at the time, and now I think it's a great movie. And like, I think you got to look at the larger story, as we will see with Matt Reeves down the line. I think the things he's done are amazing. I think it's gonna be great, and I think I'll look back at this in the Batman with like a better opinion as other movies come out. But right now, it's good. It's good. It's not great. It's good. It's probably very good. Okay, but
And you've only seen it once, right?
I've only seen it once. Yeah.
Okay.
The Joker scene was cool. Like I said, I wasn't blown away by it. There wasn't anything outrageous about it. It is hard to say. I don't think it's fair to compare the actors. It's tough because let's be honest, it's always going to be Heath Ledger. And I think that's just the case. So it's always tough to come out and act after. We've spoke about that ad nauseum in terms of, having the Joker and somewhat overshadows the Batman story a little bit, but they're doing it, but keep in mind, like you said, people are pissed about this, bro. This is like not even canon pretty much. He took it out of the movie. So you can't even consider this as like the story. Like you said, it's still in development. He can come back later and be like, okay, nah, I'm not really feeling that take. Let's do a different take on the Joker. The whole like congenital disease thing, cool, I guess. I mean, not, I don't really care, but it is in my mind. When I first read that, I thought, well, it's kind of a ripoff, a little bit of Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, because he had that like disease as well, where he just laughed, like they make it so it's very, which I get, you're grounding it and you're making it realistic, but that was kind of Joaquin Phoenix's thing. It was like the guy had this, disorder as well, if you will, where he just laughed all the time, and this guy smiles all the time. Okay, cool. Makes sense. I mean, I would kind of explain a little bit.
Well, it's kind of the reason, and the reason why he kind of looks the way he does is because he just, growing up, he literally got the shit beat out of him.
Right.
That's the easiest way to put it. And
right.
so that's realistically what it is. And I get, you could see that from obviously the way Matt Reeves does, the camera, like even when it's not in focus, like you're like, wow, it's kind of gruesome and horrifying. And then when you see it in focus, you're like, whoa, this is like some next level stuff.
I think it'll be cool. Like they're going to do it. Let's do it. You know what I mean? Obviously I love the Joker. I wasn't blown away by the scene. I thought it was cool. It would have been cool to have in the theater as well, but even in the theater, I don't think I would have been blown away by it.
Yeah, I'm glad that it was a deleted scene. I definitely think it would have taken away. Like if you would have seen this in the movie, you would have been like, okay, when is he going to show up again, or is he going to break out at the end? Like you're always already thinking that. But I think with this just being a deleted scene, and I like how it is, and I like how he talks to Batman, and I think even from Eternals, like I liked him as a character. As Druid, like, and for him now to be this character, I can already see it. Like I can see him expanding the Joker lineage of how the past 3 Jokers have been great, without a doubt.
Yeah, I'm all for it. Let's keep it going. So
what else do we got on the board for articles this week?
So another kind of controversial, maybe, I don't know if and I don't know if I should say another. The Ezra Miller one wasn't controversial. That shit's just fucked up. But another article we have talking about comic books here is this comes from Bleeding Cool. It's Marvel is canceling Shang-Chi at issue 13 and going to replace it with a new number 1, Shang-Chi and the 10 Rings. So before we get into like what the article talks about, obviously, Justin and I have talked about it a million times. Marvel is the premier king of number 1 issues and just restarting and rebooting everything. And I'm actually reading the Shang-Chi run right now, and it's good. Like I enjoy it. It very much focuses on the 5 Weapons Society. It has a very Immortal Iron Fist feel to it. And it's good. But this article, I don't know, man. I mean, I guess this kind of dovetails as well as with like the cancel culture, but basically it came out that Simu Liu, star of Marvel Shang-Chi and the Legend of 10 Rings, was stating that he would not sign any Master of Kung Fu comics or other comics deemed offensive. All autographs from Simu will be signed in English only. Honestly, I don't know about that. I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like this guy is just a little extra, bro. Like Simu, like he's made comments where I'm just like, okay, dude, just I don't know. And you know what? I'm not trying to like downplay whatever. It's not
performance, but
no, not that. Like his concerns with cultural appropriation and the offensive nature and stuff. Obviously, I'm a white guy. I can't understand that. So I'm not trying to speak on that. But at some point, it's like, come on, dude, just play the role. Okay. Like it does not everything has to be a grandstand, like, soapbox. And honestly, I find it extremely offensive that this guy who's playing Shang-Chi, who's now making his career off Shang-Chi, refuses to sign any of the work and art that was done prior to, whether he likes it or not. That is artwork and things done by individuals before him that they created, and he is just kind of shitting on it. Like I don't know about that, dude. I I don't think that's acceptable. Because without that, without Master Kung Fu, which I don't know, I don't really find that very offensive. But like I said, once again, I'm not, part of that culture. But I don't know, dude. I don't. What do you think?
I think if we're gonna have, I guess, a Marvel's bad boy, he's the person, right? Like,
Yeah,
we have
he's real bad.
well, like
Yeah, I get what you're
obviously
saying.
within like DC, you had Ray Fisher, playing Cyborg and all the
Yeah.
stuff that he said about Josh Whedon. Now you got Ezra Miller. You really don't hear too much bad words said about whether it was Henry Cavill, Ben Affleck, or even any of the other actors or actresses that played um characters in the past. And now with this, and I didn't know about this, so you're always pulling up these articles, and it's the truth. Like, if they had a private sign, like if CGC had a private signing and you want to send in your Masters of Kung Fu number 15, or what is it, Marvel Special Premiere, I forget its first
No, I think he'll sign that one,
but he won't sign like
anything
other
that
ones
says Master of Kung Fu. He won't sign any Master of Kung Fu comics.
Okay.
Or other
like,
comics which are deemed offensive, which I don't really understand. Okay, cool, dude.
like
What's offensive to you? Do we need a yeah, bro? I didn't even think about what you're talking about. Like, print out a list, then I guess, so you don't send your books to CGC for 2 years.
It'll be in the small print. Like, he will not sign these 50 different books, and you're like, all right, well, some of these are keys in my mind, or like it'd be cool to have, because like, what if it's a really cool cover? Like, I want to get this signed. You're not going to sign it? Like, come on.
I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I think it's kind of stupid to get an actor who played the role signing a book anyway, but whatever.
Unless they do
some
the
people
photo
are into
variants.
that. Yeah.
That's the only time, like, I would probably get, something done like that. Like, they've done Iron Man, they've done Black Widow, all the different Avengers, Spider-Man, and those are cool. Like, I think those are cool covers to get. Like, I would never get an actor or actress to sign a book. Actually, I take that back, because I really want Ashley Eckstein to sign like a Clone Wars 1, but that was an animated. That wasn't like a live action. Like, I probably would. I don't think I could have Rosario Dawson sign a Clone Wars 1 because she's live action. But if they did like a photo variant, then I would definitely, I'd be all down for that.
I don't know. I feel like we got bigger issues than
absolutely
bigger issues in the world than Simu Liu like refusing to sign Master of Kung Fu books. Like, come on, dude.
Anyway, so that's our movie talk with the different stuff that we got with the Batman and the Ezra Miller deals and Shang-Chi. So let's wrap up with some comic book talk. This one, I felt like this one flew under the radar. So last week over at bleedingcool.com, Something is Killing the Children 22 is going to be getting 3 first appearances. So in January, Something's Killing the Children Volume 4 top sales charts. Of course, James Tynion and Weather Deladera's show-stopping, amazing book, Something is Killing the Children, is not slowing down with the surprise drop of Something is Killing the Children number 21. The Ashcan that came out a few weeks ago, or maybe even a month ago at this point, has now helped double the sales of issue number 21, surpassing over 145,000 copies, making it definitely the clear contender for top in March. But with issue number 22, we are hearing that they are not only going to be introducing 2 new monster hunters who might top Erica Slaughter as your favorite badass, but also a new house. So with these upcoming issues, and we're still in early development of the possible Netflix series, what are you thinking that they can bring on that'll change this series, especially with the issues number 22?
I mean, I think this is the way they need to go. They need some new characters. Like, don't get me wrong, Eric is awesome, but we saw House of Slaughter. We've been getting, older characters and some new characters and fleshing them out more. But to really keep a run going, you need good supporting characters, because they, spoiler alert, I guess if you haven't read much, Something is Killing the Children, but Aaron dies. He's like the only real supporting character we had. And so he goes away. And then, we've had like the people who kind of trained her a little bit, but you don't get too much about that as well. I think you need a little bit more, some other hunters out there, because what you do by showing other hunters is you show the difference in why Erica might be so much better than everyone else, So I think this Something is Killing the Children universe needs to expand and needs more characters that are going to stick around for a while.
Yeah. And it always helps with then getting like a spin-off series.
Right.
Like, of course, like you said, like with Aaron and obviously and Chase in the House of Slaughter, that's like one storyline, but then how they're going to introduce a new house, maybe that the next House of Slaughter series, if like, let's just say House of Slaughter is only 12 issues or 10 issues,
Mhm.
then when they come back for like a volume 2, this will be like a completely different house. Maybe it'll be whatever the house is called, right?
Right.
So that would be really interesting. And something that you've always talked about here on the podcast is obviously the different masks and the different colors
Oh
mean
yeah, it's
the
cool.
different things. So yeah, so if we're gonna get a new house, now you're already thinking like, oh man, what could they do? Like, because I'm already
Yeah.
intrigued. Like, I didn't know about this article until this week. Even though the article came out about a week and a half ago, I feel like it went under the radar. So I'm really excited to definitely see what's going to happen in these this new story arc with Something Is Killing the Children, because I feel like when, especially image books, like when they're on hiatus and then they come back, they always come, this that first issue always comes back strong, but sometimes the arcs themselves are always stronger as a whole than when they come out like month to month.
Mm.
Like at the end you're like, wow, that was a really good story arc when you think about it.
Yeah, I can't wait for it to come back for sure. I'd like to see, yeah. I mean, whether they do like house spin-offs, like, like you said, and I spoke about before, I'd love to see like little minis on the different masks, like the black masks and the red mask, the gold masks, all those. I'd like to see little minis on them. Because there's some, I mean, they hinted at some really cool ones, like the ones who just attack dragons. Like, yo, talk about them. That sounds badass. I don't want to see more of these little insect monsters that they do. I mean, they're cool,
Yeah.
but show me some dragons, man.
Yeah. Go like not off world. Go like out of the states. Like go overseas. Go like
Right.
Canada, South America. Like I want to see some crazy monsters that could appear
Yeah.
in different countries.
You could do, yeah, and obviously like cultural type monsters as well, that are
Mhm.
specific to those cultures. That would be really cool. So sweet.
So, of course, as we end always the podcast, every week we talk about what are we currently reading. And I have to admit that with it being Wednesday as we're recording this, and I am going to Anaheim for WonderCon, I did not get a chance to even go to my comic shop or pick up any of the new books. So I currently have nothing that I'm reading right now. Of course, I'm always reading old stuff. So Zach is going to start us off with what he's currently reading.
Okay. So I haven't even finished all my books either. So it's early in the week and things got busy, but I got a couple books I'd like to talk about. So, man, hot garbage. I kind of got some hot garbage, which I think you're going to
Yeah.
appreciate.
All right. So you're
Yeah.
saying I don't have to pick this book up?
Well, you weren't going to anyway, because you've been
Okay.
shitting all over it anyway. So this probably help you out here. Hulk 5 was pretty bad. Yeah, I don't know about this Hulk run, man. I was trying to stay positive about it at the beginning. But the whole like operating a spaceship of the Hulk, it's I don't know, man. I don't know. They gotta do something. They gotta pick this and turn this thing around. Turn that ship around if we're gonna, play into what they're doing. You see what I did there? So yeah, so Hulk 5 was kind of piss poor, but the books I really enjoyed this week, first off, a couple honorable mentions. Dark Ages 6, wrapping up that series, was real cool, fun little 6-issue, alternate universe, post-apocalyptic type run. Had a pretty cool ending. I enjoyed that a lot.
I definitely got to read that.
Iron Fist 2 was really good. I'm liking the Swordmaster stuff. I kind of wish it dragged. I don't know if drag's the right word. Obviously, they have to flesh it out a bit, but it didn't. I wanted to start moving a little bit quicker, but I'm liking it and I'm enjoying the character for sure.
Well, I heard there is a cameo at the end.
Yes.
Big surprise reveal, which
Right.
is something that I've been specking on for a while. I won't.
Right. And you
spoil
were
it,
right, man.
but-
Yeah. I won't say it because I don't want to spoil it for anyone. Not that it really matters, because I doubt there's a ton of Swordmaster fans out there. He's such a new character, but it's cool. Like, you should be reading this. It's a good read.
Yeah, I saw the covers on, of course, Sade's today. What page is it? She did her stories, so
Right.
saw some of the covers for a lot of these books, and I definitely want to pick it up. I like the cover with him, both the Iron Fists on there, so pretty dope. And I'm enjoying that series.
So my tie for my pick of the week is obviously, man, X-Men always going to be my number one, and Immortal X-Men came out today. Immortal X-Men number 1, which really focuses on the Quiet Council, the council that's ruling the X-Men. But this issue really focused on Mr. Sinister, which he's kind of been creeping around the backgrounds throughout this like Dawn of X storyline, and we don't really know what his motivations are. I mean, you never probably will with Mr. Sinister, but I really thought this issue was awesome. There's a bunch of cool covers for this run, and I'm really excited for Immortal X-Men to move on. And then the other book I really liked, it's another fun little like alternate universe story, and I think you're reading this, is the DC versus Vampires. You're reading that, right?
Yeah.
So and I don't want to spoil it, but issue 6, it's, you know, obviously they're trying to, if you've been reading it, they're trying to figure out who the king of the vampires are, and it's really cool who it ends up being. It was a fun issue. I'm enjoying this run. I think it's 10 or 12 issues.
It's 12.
Total.
Yeah,
12.
I think they're halfway through, right?
Yeah, so halfway through, and it's cool. It's fun. It's Tom Taylor, right? No, it's Tinian.
Yep.
It's Tinian,
Taylor,
right?
I feel like.
No, it's Tinian and Rosenberg. Yeah.
Oh, that's right, because Taylor's doing the other one.
Yeah. So I think he's doing Dark Ages. I think that's what we're thinking of. But yeah, it's Tinian and Rosenberg. It's really cool. It's a fun read. Vampires, DC Universe. So check that shit out too.
Awesome. A lot of good picks. Like I said, unfortunately, like I didn't get a chance to stop at the shops. So I have nothing that I'm currently reading for the new releases, but of course I'll be taking something on my trip to WonderCon, probably a trade paperback or an omnibus or something like that for this flight out there. So wrapping up season 2, episode 13. Again, we want to thank all the women that we've had on the podcast this past month.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
Jenn, of course, for being on the podcast, giving us her time today as well. For myself, if you are listening to this and you are heading to WonderCon, I will definitely be walking around, whether it be with my Comic-Con podcast t-shirt or my Lords of the Long Box shirt. So if you see me, feel free to stop by, give me a high five. Probably have my pins and some stickers and stuff like that for the podcast. And I'm excited to get out there, man. It's definitely going to be a lot of fun. So, Zach, what about you?
I'm going to be living vicariously through your posts and text messages, which I'm sure I'll be receiving a lot of.
Oh, definitely.
But yeah, you're going to have fun, man. That's going to be great.
Awesome. So thanks, everybody, for checking out the podcast. Of course, we will be back here next week. Peace out, everybody.
Later.